it earlier somewhere, but anyway, it is composite contribution ratio. The formula for calculating is fixed cost divided by composite contribution ratio. So if the things are clear, this also you read, I have explained it. And now we come back to the previous slide. Now what I have written here, verify these calculations. Can you verify these calculations? See, your BEP is 4 lakh. How do you verify these calculations that your answer is correct? Can somebody tell me?
Sir, by changing the selling price.
By? See, I'll tell you, we wish to verify if our answer is correct or not. How do we verify? Our answer will be correct only if total sales and total cost is equal. Total sales is also rupees 4 lakh and total cost is also rupees 4 lakh. I mean, do you agree?
Yes, sir.
How do we calculate total sales? Total sales revenue. Sales revenue is given, but how do we confirm it?
So 4 lakh divided by unit selling price, that is 40 rupees.
But you are not selling only X, you are selling Y also. Okay, I'll tell you this step. First, the 4 lakh you are selling. This is where I told you that understanding of assumptions is necessary. Can anyone tell me what was the last assumption? Have not I been telling you that unless you are clear about the previous day's discussion, the current day's discussion will pose a problem. This I must have told you now at least 20-30 times. Out of 95 of you present here, cannot even one tell me what was the last assumption?
The constant sales mix.
Sir, in case of a firm producing more than one product, sales mix remains constant.
What does it mean? It means if the firm is selling for rupees 4 lakh, in which proportion its sales revenue should come from X and Y? 40% and 60%. This is what the sales mix is. What is the sales mix in our current scenario? 40% and 60%. So the firm is receiving 4 lakh rupees. This 4 lakh should come from 40% of X and 60% of Y. So what will be the contribution of X? What is 40% of 4 lakh? 1 lakh 60,000, right? What is the contribution of Y? What will be the contribution of Y?
2,40,000.
2,40,000, correct. So this is the total sales revenue that should come from X, and this much should come from Y. What are you interested in finding out? You are interested in finding out total sales, so that you can compare the total sales is actually equal to total revenue. Now X you are selling for rupees 1,40,000. How many units you must be selling? Each unit you are selling for rupees 40. So you must be selling how many units? 1,60,000 divided by 40. That is 4,000 units. How many units you will be selling for Y? You are selling Y for rupees 2,40,000. And each unit is for rupees 30. So 2,40,000 divided by 30 will give you 8,000 units. So you are selling 4,000 units of X and you are selling 8,000 units of Y. Once you know the number of units, you know the variable cost. And once you know the variable cost per unit, you also know the number of units, total variable cost can be calculated. So total variable cost plus fixed cost should be equal to 4 lakh. And I have just made the calculation. It is equal to fixed lakh. It is equal to 4 lakh. what I will tell you, what I will do now, when I ask you to verify these calculations, I will send you the steps. See, solving it here itself is a matter of few minutes, 1 or 2 minutes, but it should not be at this stage that much of a spoon feeding. If I write here, for example, let me just minimize it, make it smaller. If I write here the steps, what are the steps? Steps I'm writing is steps of verification. Steps of verification. Total cost is equal to total revenue. This is how you verify. What is your total cost? Total cost is equal to fixed cost plus variable cost. Now, how do we, variable cost is known. How much is variable cost? Variable cost is 1 lakh. In order to know, sorry, fixed cost is 1 lakh. In order to know variable cost, what should you know? How to know variable cost? We should know numbers. We should know, I'm writing it hurriedly, we should know number of units sold. Number of units sold. How do we know number of units? How do we know number of units? If 4 lakh is your total revenue, it should come in the light of fifth assumption. 4 lakh should be divided in 4:6 ratio. Why 4:6 ratio? Because 4:6 is your sales mix, 40% and 60%. When you divide in 40 and 60%, what do you get? 1,60,000 and 2,40,000. Are these steps clear up to this stage, or is there any issue with any one of you up to this stage? Any issue up to this stage? Yes, please tell me if you have, you need any, if you have any question, please ask.
Yes, sir, clear.
Clear. Anyone whom it is not clear? Okay. When it is to be divided in 40 to 4:, this ratio, you get this answer. Now you know sales price. You are selling, sales of X is how much? 160. Each unit you are selling for how much? Each unit is for, what is the cost of sales price of each unit? 40. For 40. What will be number of units? It is such a simple thing. You are selling in all for 1,60,000. Each unit you are selling for 40. How many units will you sell? 4,000. 4,000. Similarly, how about apply the same data on Y? Y you are selling for 2,40,000. Each unit is for how many rupees?
30.
Each for, no, sales price. That is variable cost.
60.
60. You have taken 40 sales. See, your total sales volume is 2,40,000. Each unit you are selling for 60. How many units will be there?
4,000.
4,000. Now you have got units. So variable cost can be calculated. What will be variable cost of X? 4,000 into how much? What is the variable cost of X? 30. 4,000 into 30. Okay, what will be the variable cost of Y? 4,000 into how much?
45.
4,000 into 45. What is the total? 1,20,000. It becomes 1,20,000, and the other one becomes
1,80,000.
1,80,000.
120 plus 180. 80. How much does it become?
3 lakh.
4 lakh.
3 lakh.
3 lakh. So total variable cost is 3 lakh. Plus and total fixed cost is 1 lakh. So total cost becomes
4 lakh.
4 lakh. When total cost is 4 lakh, total revenue is also 4 lakh. That means your answer is correct. Is the process clear?
Yes, sir.
Means our answer is correct. Similarly, using the same steps, the step that I have highlighted, these ones given in red font, you can calculate, you can verify this also. Can you now verify or not? Not now, but you can verify this.
Yes, sir.
So this part is over. Now come to decision. What decision will you take? Accept the change proposal or reject the proposal?
Reject the proposal.
Okay, you should reject the proposal. Why?
PP is more in the proposed.
Okay. Again, if I ask you, if we reject the proposal, if BEP is more, why do we do so? Why do we? Just one second. Why do we reject the proposal if BEP is more? I told you do this, but why? What is the logic?
So we have to sell more units
Yes,
in the
yes, correct. We have to sell more. If somebody tells you you will break even at 2 lakh, and in other proposal you will break even at 2,50,000. So earlier a firm recovers, better it is. This is the logic. What if in the change scenario also BEP is same? Suppose here your answer is again same. Your answer is same. What will you do? 4 lakh. If your answer, if your break even in both the scenario is same, what will be your answer? What will be your decision? Sorry.
Continue with the current scene.
Continue with the old one.
Yes.
Okay. Any other answer or any other reason for that? Yes, depends on the market. You see, when you change from Y to Z, you need to see what will be the market for Z in future. This is the data, this is the decision that you are taking as on date. But if you think that the market for Z is likely to be better than Y in future, then even if your BEP is more, one can still go. I have just mentioned these things in the next slide. Perhaps let me just check if I have mentioned. Yes, I have mentioned it here. Is BEP alone deciding factor? At times BEP alone is not deciding factor. We should work out profitability also at different scenario. We should also see the economic condition in which we are operating. All these things you try to correlate, you try to incorporate whatever you have learned in your managerial economics. See the entire course that you are studying, whatever papers you are studying, the knowledge that you have gained, not for writing answers in the class or passing sessional tests and all, no. Application part of that knowledge, if you put all the knowledge together, all the concepts and their application, that only will help you taking decisions. So everything that you have or you will study in the marketing class, in business study class, in strategy class, business policy class, etc., you will be in a position to take the decision. So this is how we can decide about product replacement. The same thing will be applicable in case we wish to add. In this example, I explained to you X and Y current, Y and Z proposal. In case we wish to illustrate the drop decision, so we may have three products X, Y, and Z, and we may think of dropping X. If we say replacement, this is the example of replacement. If we take add, we have X and Y, we wish to add Z. So same procedure you will follow, same way you will be in a position to calculate existing BEP, revised BEP, and take a decision. I wish to move to the next slide. Before I do that, let me know if you have any question. If you don't have any question, let me move on to all these changes that I'm making. I will mail you because you have the original one. In this, there are several changes. Now we take this. I have explained to you. Add, drop, or this add, drop, or replacement. Okay, add, drop, and replacement are exactly the same thing. Now our discussion on this what you call break-even analysis is over, except one more one more aspect, and that aspect is limitations of break-even analysis. What all we have learned in these about how many 12 slides, we have learned the concept of break-even analysis in these 10-12 slides, cost volume of profit analysis. So now, having understood its meaning, its calculation, etc., etc., what do you think are the limitations of break-even analysis? Number one, it is mathematical in nature. Okay. Any other next limitation? What is the other limitation?
So sales mix is never constant.
Yes. Also keep a note. All of you are all contributing in this discussion. So whatever one speaks, all of you should note it. So second limitation, you said the sales mix is never constant. Can you add one or two more words to this? It becomes a correct sentence. Sales mix is never constant in real life, isn't it? When you start selling, will you sell according to BEP or you will sell according to the demand? You will sell according to the demand. So sales mix will never be constant in real life. Second limitation. Third limitation. Third limitation.
So it does not tell us about the other factors of the market.
Okay, it ignores the other factors of the market. Third or next.
Variable cost is not always same.
Say, yes, please. One of you.
Variable cost is not always same.
Variable cost in real life will not remain the same.
Yes.
Variable cost in real life will not. What will happen to variable cost? It will keep on
changing.
Changing means increasing or decreasing?
So it may increase or decrease by single inflation or deflation.
Okay. Suppose it is decreasing. To what level will it decrease? Can it become zero?
No, sir.
No. Okay. These issues must have been covered in managerial economics, so I'm not spending your time there. Next limitation. Next limitation.
So you don't keep the selling price same for all your customers.
Correct. Very true. Sales price does not remain constant. It varies with the volume of production. Sorry, volume of sales. If you sell more to the same client, you reduce your sales price. Are there some products or a product wherein sales price per unit sales price remains constant whether you sell 10 units or 100 unit or 1000 units. Sales price will not change. Have you observed or seen some product in which this assumption of break even is true in real life also? And I can guarantee that all of you must have used those products or services in your life, with an exception of maybe one or two. But 99.99% of you would have used those services or products.
So railway services, for example.
Yes, very railway, not services. I am using guarded words, using very guarded words, not services. Railway ticket, I am saying. Railway tickets. If you buy one ticket, it will cost you 100. The entire class goes to Delhi. Railway will not give you even 1 rupee discount. I said tickets. Why I did not say services? Because in services, railways also follow the same rule, market rules. Does railway follow marketing rules in case of services, or it does not?
Sir, it does.
How it does? How it does it?
So, for example, some tourism tickets are really expensive,
Okay,
even in lakh.
any other way which is applicable in common transactions? How does it do it? If you travel 100 kilometer, ticket may cost you 100 rupees. If you travel 1000 kilometer, will ticket cost you 10 times or lesser than 10 times?
Lesser than 10 times.
Lesser than 10 times.
So what is happening when you are buying more of its services? Per unit cost is decreasing. Per kilometer, cost of travel decreases. So it is completely based on sales price, demand and supply. Okay, now we come back to the limitations that we were discussing. In all, how many limitations have you written down so far?
5.
5. Can there be one more limitation?
So not effective in long run.
Okay. Not
effective in long run.
Not effective in long run. Can you elaborate it?
Yes, sir. Is at some extent it neglect the market condition.
Okay. Any other limitation? Next limitation.
So also the fixed price will not remain the constant in a longer run. So for example, if we increase the production, so we may add up the machinery. So in that case, sir, the fixed price will increase.
Fixed cost will increase.
Yes, sir. Fixed cost.
Okay. Any other limitation? See, all of you. Yes.
Sir, fixed cost decrease with the time as depreciation takes place.
Does fixed cost decrease? Fixed cost you have incurred once and known as sunk cost. You have it already incurred. There is no way it will decrease. Depreciation, as we have said, is it a cost? What is depreciation in terms of cost? Depreciation is not a cost. I'll tell you why I asked you about limitation. If you were sensitive enough, all of you, you could have simply looked at the assumptions, and with assumptions you could have immediately taken out its limitations. That is why I am once again asking you, is there any more limitation? And the one more limitation is you have not touched upon
Closing stock.
Yes, you have not touched upon the closing stock. The assumption is that there is no closing stock. In real life, does it happen? In real life, there is always a closing stock. I mean, when I say always, not in real terms, maybe could in 1 or 2% cases, closing stock may not be there, but that will be a temporary phenomenon. It is not, humanly possible that this production and supply 100% matches. there will always be either shortage of stock or some value of closing stock. So these are the limitations. With this, our discussion on break-even point is over. If you have some questions, I will be answering them. If there are no questions, I can explain to you something else. Have you noted down or have you downloaded the presentation for the slides of sessions from 44 to 48 or something like that? Last presentation. If it is not available with you, let me tell you, it was on standard costing and variance analysis. It was on standard costing and variance analysis. Let me copy this slide somewhere. Standard costing and variance analysis. Duplicate this slide. Was on standard costing. You may better note this way. Download that one because we will be discussing that in detail. Standard costing, I'll just give you an idea about it and variance analysis. So what we do, this is another completely new chapter, standard costing and variance analysis. Standard costing for making any product, a firm always estimates before it decides. It estimates how much cost it is going to incur in producing this particular product. That is known as its standard cost. So before it takes a decision, it always estimates. It includes every possible, every conceivable cost. It will incur so much on this head, so much on this head, so much on this head, so much on this head. Everything, single possible thing, it will include. So that it calls it as a standard cost. Now, once a standard cost has been estimated, so this cost is estimated well in advance. Thereafter, company actually carries on the production. When it carries on the production, it incurs actual cost. So it is estimated one, the one that company decided, estimate, and it is real life one. In real life, when it is started production, it will be incurring. Suppose estimated per unit cost was rupees 100. Now actual cost in real life, do you think will be 100 or will be more than 100 or will be less than 100?
Less than 100.
Could be less than 100, could be 90 or could be 100 or could be 110. Why I have written these figures? One figure less than this, one figure equal to this, one figure more. So in real life, all three possibilities exist. I mean, do you agree with this? Three possibilities exist or not? In real life, one of the three will 100% be there. When you actually you made some estimates. Suppose if we take the example of department, it may decide to launch a course it wants to launch. So what will be the cost? Recruitment of teachers or per hour salary to the teacher, the classroom expenses, electricity expenses, peon, refreshment, course material, photocopy. You can add on and on and on. The total will be the estimated cost. When it actually starts the course, number of students may be more or less, but when it comes to cost, number of students will be related to the revenue. when it comes to cost, it may deliver more lectures than it desired, than it estimated. It may deliver less lectures. Some teachers may be on leave. I mean, there can be several aspects. Electricity expenses may be more than what it estimated, less than what it estimated. Teaching material, notes, several heads, the department will notice it is not exactly the same that we estimated. That means there may be a difference. The difference that you have, difference between standard and actual, is known as variance. What is it known as? It is known as variance. You got the meaning of variance? If the standard cost differs with actual cost, the answer that you get, the figure that you get, is known as variance. Is the meaning of variance clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now variance can be of two categories. Variance can be adverse or favorable. Variance can be adverse or favorable. What will be the adverse variance? FAVOE. Is what will be the adverse variance? Adverse variance means adverse variance means if the standard was 100, actual is 110, then it becomes your adverse variance. What will be a favorable variance?
Standard was 100, actual is 90.
Yes, standard is 100, actual is 90. That becomes your favorable variance. So number one, we have by now understood the meaning of the meaning of standard cost, the meaning of actual cost, the meaning of variance, meaning of favorable variance, meaning of adverse variance. Okay, these four concepts we have learned. Now, if there is a favorable variance in accounting language, is it to be debited or credited? Or you have forgotten those two words in about 2 months' time? Not 2 months, maybe about 1.5 months' time. Okay, I'll not answer you. Think over it and let me know. Adverse variance or favorable variance, which one of these two should be debited and which one should be credited? Any logic you can apply here?
The favorable variances should be credited and the other one should be debited.
Okay, any reason for that?
Sir, for example, if we talk about favorable variances, we could say that if the profit occurs, then it would be credited, and if the loss occurs, then it would be debited.
Is 100% correct answer. 100% correct answer. Others may kindly note. Can you repeat? Please repeat it so that others may either understand or note it.
For positive variances, if you talk about profit, for example, if you talk about profit, then it is credited, and for the other one, we say we occur loss, then it is debited.
It is debited. When you have a favorable variance, means you have saved money in a sense. You thought that you will be spending 100, but you have spent 90. So this 10 is your saving or not? Similarly,
Yes, sir.
Similarly, you thought that you will be spending 100 rupees, but you are spending 110. So in a sense, this is your notional loss. All right. We will talk about its debit and credit later. Let me once again come back to you and continue here. Now, you have taken this from the total cost. Your total cost was negative, your total cost was favorable, your total cost was unfavorable or adverse. We at times, have it for the total cost, but we, split it. We go into further in-depth analysis. This 100 or 110 or 90 is your total cost. And total cost may consist of several things. It may happen that in one case it was adverse, in the other case it was favorable. It may happen at several places. It may happen in several situations. Therefore, we need to take a step-by-step analysis. Sometimes one step, sometimes 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We go on and on and on. The more in depth we go, the more data, or rather we should say useful data, is made available for management to take decisions. Your total cost may consist of several components. What could be the major component of the cost? What could be major components of the cost?
Raw materials.
Okay, let me write here. Raw material is one. Then?
So labor.
Labor. Okay, then?
Machinery.
Okay, machinery. Okay, let me write machinery. Then?
Salaries.
Salaries. Okay.
Rent.
Rent. All right. What else? Anything else?
So electricity bills.
Electricity. Likewise, I'll tell you, we keep writing here. All right. Is the screen visible to all of you?
Yes,
I mean,
sir.
screen is visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yes, sir. I have written the components. Fine. This list will be unending. There can be 100 of such items, isn't it? See, you have written salaries. There can be salaries of class A, salaries of class B, salaries of class C implies. You can have, like advertisement. There may be unendingly. There may be 50, 100 items. Against each item, we will have minimum 2 columns. If we are making this as a table, we will write here. What shall we write here? We will write here standard. Let us say standard, and we will write here actual, and then we will write here variance. Am I right? Suppose standard
machinery is.
Sorry.
Is machinery considered as cost as well?
No, I'm just saying. I just noted whatever you have said. I'm just saying, trying to explain to you further about the standard costing. Suppose here standard was 100 and our actual was 110. Our variance was 10 adverse. Then we come to this. It was 90. It was 100. It was 90. It was 80. It becomes 10 favorable. Likewise, the table may continue. And at the end of day, the total standard and total actual will be equal to total variance, either A or F. Instead of having it for that long, the entire cost may be divided into some important component. Could be raw material, could be labor, and all rest could be divided as this overheads. In whatever components we decide, I will explain to you in subsequent classes how do we go about doing it. I will also let you know either through message or through Google Classroom that there are certain pages which you need to study more, because here a lot of calculations will be required So I have already prepared a few slides which I have already sent to you in the form of a presentation that I will share with you. Better if you download them and also have a look on those slides before actually we start the class. We will spend about 2-3 classes on a standard costing because I have provided you a lot of stuff in the form of written notes, and that will be the completion of our course. Standard costing was remaining, break-even analysis was remaining. We have covered up to, before I fell ill, I had covered up to this fund flow statement. Only one slide of fund flow statement or one class of fund flow statement was taken after I resumed the classes. So we will decide what is to be done once our course is over. After consulting you, we will decide how to spend that time, how to go about the revision or doubt clearing sessions or whatever, and accordingly we will spend. I'll be available for you either in the classroom or through WhatsApp messages, or classroom or WhatsApp messages, or through the same sessions which we are having now. But ultimately your doubts, your concerns will certainly be taken care of. So we will leave the class now, but then I see you tomorrow. You should be ready with the material that I'll be sending you, or I'll be referring it to you through classroom or through this WhatsApp group. Okay.